Hey everybody, welcome into Redacted on this Thursday. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natali Morris.
And on this show, we navigate this crazy clown world together as we are entering a crazy period ahead of the 2024 election. So thank you guys for joining us live. We are live Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Good to see all of you guys. Thank you guys for subscribing, whether it's YouTube or Rumble or on X. Tonight on the show, we're going to look at one big part of this illegal immigration story, which is why is the United States government building massive detention facilities in over 50 states across the United States? This is a piece of the story that you haven't heard. This is a dark secret, and we have the receipts. We're going to show them to you. And here's a little like news flash tip. It's actually not related to illegal immigration. So wrap your heads around that. We're going to dive deep into this crazy story in a moment.
Plus, guess what U.S. taxpayers just bought? Any guesses? Any guesses?
A new car.
Aid to Ukraine? Oh. Yes, but that's not what we're talking about.
Home tests?
Home COVID tests? Well, yes, that too. Weapons for Israel? Yes, that's true also. But also, you guys, we just bought the rights for Moderna to make an mRNA bird flu vaccine. Oh, yeah. Coming soon to a pharmacy near you. That is in trials. We're going to tell you all about how the WHO is leading the charge for that. Also, we're going to talk about how trans swimmer Leah Thompson has been denied access to compete against women in the 2024 Olympics. This is a win for female sports.
Also, Poland just shocked the world and fought back against the globalist agenda, the Green Party agenda, and the NATO agenda, trying to turn Poland basically into a garrison of NATO and the United States. Well, Polish voters said, big F you. They pulled out a fire extinguisher and they hosed down and stopped the flames from growing any further in Poland with huge election results. We're going to have a guest on who grabbed that fire extinguisher and put out this globalist agenda in Poland. Wait until you see this interview coming up a little bit later in the show. Good to see all of you guys here on this Thursday. Welcome in, welcome in. Let us know where you're joining us from live here. We should mention we do have a daily newsletter. We would love for you to subscribe to it. It's totally free. Just go to redacted.inc, put in your email address, then click submit, and you will receive a welcome email from me. It'll come from Clayton at redacted.inc. Just drag it over to your inbox, but make sure in that email that I send to you, you have to verify. You have to click verify that you want to receive the newsletter. And then Monday through Thursday, we do publish the newsletter first thing in the morning. It's a great way for us to stay connected and start your day off covering a couple of stories that we think would make your day more informative. Plus, we try to make you smile a little bit. We had a little bit of a technical problem with the on the back end server issue this morning. So a piece of our Tom Brady story didn't make it into the newsletter, unfortunately.
So the news is, in case we left you hanging, is that the New England Patriots retired number 12 for Tom Brady in perpetuity. So that number will no longer ever be used again.
Yeah, that's probably a smart move because no one's ever going to win like 6 Super Bowls or whatever it was, 7 Super Bowls in New England, 6, I think, in New
Until
England?
the bots start playing.
I guess,
that
Hey, that's what they said about number 3, too, with Montana at Notre Dame. And then when another golden child came along, they unretired it. So
okay,
it might not be forever.
Well, the 49ers won't do that, but maybe
Hey.
Notre Dame will.
Rude.
No, I was saying that
That's your
was
third
defending.
hit at California today alone.
I just gave them, I just praised the 49ers.
Yeah, that was good feedback.
Oh, all right. Clayton likes to just mosey into my office and then talk some smack about California because I'm from there.
Yeah.
It's just a regular habit. Like today he walked in. So anyhow, I thought that was another hit. Wasn't. Okay, so yes, please do check out the Redacted newsletter. It's totally free. You can find it at redacted.inc.
Well, we have a saying on this show that conspiracy theories are just 6-month spoiler alerts for what's to come. And there's no shame in raising these questions. So here's one for you. With over 30 million, upwards of 43 million illegal immigrants that have poured across the border during Biden's presidency. And the federal government is building massive facilities that can sleep tens of thousands of individuals all across the country. You probably haven't heard about these large facilities, have you? Well, why are they being built? Who are they for? We might finally have an answer. Listen.
It's not for these illegals, especially let's go off the numbers that they're telling us that there really are. They're saying, 11 million? In reality, I can tell you right now, with talking to all of the agents that I've talked to, private sector, looking at the cameras and all the real data, we're over 30 plus million who've actually entered this country.
Yep.
And so even with that, even though that's enough to replace about 36 states population, why would they need to continue to do that if they're trying to absorb these guys, make them productive members of our society, get them into housing, because we know that there are already housing projects being coordinated with builders, again, with our money. I believe it's to kind of like what Nazis did with the Jews, concentration camps, processing facilities. They're going to need somewhere to process the dissidents.
So it's not for illegal immigrants. Who is it for? Dissidents? We're going to unpack this with former 24-year veteran of the Customs and Border Protection, J.J. Carroll, who did this interview as part of his new documentary, Treason, scouring the country right now. And you just keep bringing unbelievable revelation after unbelievable revelation as part of this story. And I think, again, most Americans have no idea what is going on, and it's being absolutely kept from the American people right now. And JJ joins us once again here on the show. Great to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Clayton. And thank you for talking about this documentary, because as I travel the nation, I have I believe I'm an expert on this topic. However, when you talk to people, and I have interviewed multiple people from all different levels of ability to get intelligence gathering data, it's fascinating to me and shocking at the same time when I speak to people that are very compartmentalized, meaning they focus on child sex trafficking. They talk about the gang members. They talk about facilities, and you get deep in that rabbit hole. Really, it's a rabbit hole. You're like, I didn't know it was this deep. I didn't know it was this broad. I didn't know it was this malicious. And you played this clip from someone I interviewed this past weekend. Her name is Christy Hutcherson, and she runs an organization called Women Fighting for America. But her background was federal contracting, and more specifically, abroad, but specifically, she worked on forward operation bases, FOBs, in military war zones, where she would put up these giant soft-sided facilities, water, food, et cetera, et cetera. So we're talking tens of millions, if not billions of dollars, right, that have transferred from her company, which she no longer is a part of, but she has access to all the bid contracts. So I'm interviewing her, and like I said, I have a very good understanding of what the hell's going on in America under this immigration invasion. But when I speak to people that are very dialed in on very specific areas, I'm shocked. And she tells me, and I didn't know this because I don't have access to it. She has access to the federal database where you can go on a website and there are endless bids for contracts from whatever. But she's focusing in on, she says to me, there's bids for detention facilities being built in all 50 states in America. And I said, okay, hold on a second. Say that again. She says, okay, I can go into a database because my company used to bid on all this. And I bid overseas, international contracts. Very, very intelligent woman, very, very connected. And she says, I go in the database, JJ, and there's detention facility bids to build individual detention facilities in every state in the union. And then she goes on to say to me, well, JJ, who do you think they're built for? Are they built for all the illegal aliens or the unaccompanied alien children? Of course not. And she has a point, right? Because
you would think, right? So that's where I was confused. I would have thought, okay, they're building all of these detention facilities across the United States for a purpose, illegal immigrants. But no, right? Because as your data has suggested, most of these ICE facilities, right? Can you talk about that? Are completely empty.
Yes. Well, they are completely empty. I talked to my buddies in Texas and in San Diego, and I talked to my ICE supervisors, and they tell me, JJ, they're empty. So you're talking anywhere from 30 to 40,000 beds across America, mainly on the southern border, right, are empty. Well, why are they empty? Because we have massive catch and release. Let me explain what this looks like. In the old days, right? The old days, Clayton, 3.5 years ago, not 30 years ago, when I got someone that was special interest alien, deported felon, whatever, I didn't release them. I sent them to an ICE holding facility, and they went and they waited there a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it was, to go in front of the judge, find deported, or found to be guilty of reentry as a felon. Then they spent time in federal prison, and then they would be deported. So we had all this bed space. But now, if I get someone that's a deported felon, I know this is going to be hard for people to believe. I arrest someone that's a deported felon now, I'm releasing them. I'm releasing them on the street. So you go from arresting people 3 years ago, setting up for deportation and prosecution, goes to, we call it camp, a camp space in an ICE facility, and then that individual goes through the court system and then is ultimately deported after he or she serves her time. Not now. Everyone gets arrested by the Border Patrol. They quickly vet them, and then release them. Just release them. We just had 8, I'm going to mispronounce it, Kyrgyzstanians, 8 of them that crossed the border, were vetted and released. Now we find out they were actually ISIS terrorists. ICE had to go find them. All 8 of them, I believe, entered together, but all 8 of them didn't stay together. They went to Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and New York. So what Ms. Hutcherson is saying is, in coordination with what I know, is you have 40,000 beds. Why would you need more? Mayorkas continues to go in front of Congress and demanding, I need more money for ICE beds. And they say to him, sir, you have no one in them. I'll give you an example. San Diego sector has like a 2,000 bed, soft-sided, hard-sided facility. The last I checked was 6 people in there.
People better wake up. People better wake up. I mean, Congress. He's sitting before Congress demanding more money from Congress to build more beds. And they've been built, and they're all empty. They're all empty. Yes. I mean,
because we don't hold people anymore.
It's a good thing your documentary is called Treason, because this is treason. I mean, this is exactly what this is. What money does he need? And then what are these detention facilities being built for, as she was talking about, in all 50 states? I mean, we're talking millions of beds across the United States. For whom?
Yeah, well, and she says in this interview, they're for dissidents, American dissidents. And she's right, because I know how that sounds, Clayton. I know when I say this out loud, like you and I talked about this before, I have an inner voice and I'm like, oh God, I got to say this out loud. But it's true. So if I'm telling you that our federal government is building detention facilities across America, and therefore people that dissent, meaning people that don't want vaccines, people that are J6ers, people that are creating militias, and you go, oh, JJ, you're insane. And I push back to you. Let's go back 20 years to present day. Are you telling me this is more insane right now, what I'm talking about, than if I told you prior to 9/11, someone's going to fly planes into a building, they're going to fall down, no one's going to believe it, then we're going to use weapons of mass destruction. We're going to go into the Middle East. We're going to be in a war for over 20 years. We're going to spend $4 trillion. Thousands of men and women are going to die, American soldiers. Tens of thousands are going to be brutalized in their brain and physically destroyed with limbs and burns. The government's going to create a bioweapon. Our government with China is going to release it onto America and the world. Then they're going to lie to us and not tell us where it went. Then they're going to make us wear masks, stand 6 feet apart. They make this out of whole cloth. Then they're going to admit to it. And then they're going to force us all to get vaccines. And millions of people are dying or being injured by that vaccine. Then I'm going to use another one. I'm going to go in front of Congress. I'm going to tell you that the border's secure as video of millions of people are coming across. I just laid out 3 insane scenarios, and you're telling me that this is more crazy than those 3 that I told you?
I mean, JJ, you're nowhere near as crazy as I am. I could give you a list of 20 right now that we cover on our show.
Yes.
And everything. You want to go back to the Oklahoma City bombing? I mean, I could go on and on and on for the level of lies that our government has told us and put forth a public narrative, and behind the scenes, they're crafting something incredibly nefarious right now. I mean, it doesn't sound crazy to me at all. And I think you have large militias that are coming together across the United States right now who are preparing. I mean, we've been covering this on the show. I mean, we're talking 80, 100,000 Americans who are preparing right now for what's coming. So they're building these large facilities. Can you speak to some of the specifics of these facilities and who's facilitating this? Is this Department of Homeland Security? Is it Department of Defense? Is it NGOs with the help of with Mayorkas at the Department of Homeland Security? How is this coming together? What do these facilities look like?
I think they're going to look like just the facilities that we're seeing where the children are being held in, those FEMA camps. That's what they're building. They're building FEMA camps. The way she explained it to me was like the way she set up her company would set up forward operation bases in military zones where they would go in, barbed wire fences, soft-sided, those big white tents that come across. We see the videos. We see it in Hollywood movies where you can put 5, 10, 15,000 people in and just jam them into quarters. And
I should point out, to your point, she's not making this up. This was her job, and she's seeing the bids coming through in the contracts. So this is not fantasy.
No, this is not. This might happen. This is happening. Now we come to the crossroads. Do you believe that your federal government has your best interest? It's simple as that. Do you believe our government is malicious and nefarious? Look what they're doing to January 6ers. Look at that. But think of on a massive scale. We don't have to go back far in history. They interned Japanese Americans in camps. So you're telling me this government, the government that's been lying to you for decades, is now all going to be kumbaya and they found God and they're going to do righteous things? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? They locked you in your houses for months on some BS COVID stuff, right? COVID was real, but they locked you in your houses. What happens when we rise up and go, I'm not staying in my houses? Oh, you're not? National Guard, martial law, round them up. So I have a woman that I think is highly intelligent, very, very successful, has made a lot of money in her business, and now is devoting her life to fighting the federal government and exposing the truth. And she's telling me, JG, this is for dissidents. When I talk to experts, and then I fact check that expert, and I talk to other experts, and they validate, I cannot logically listen to someone like that and then dismiss her. No, you don't know what you're talking about. No, she obviously knows what the hell she's talking about, Clayton. Look, the more I go on this journey, called me and Ryan Madden, my business partner on this documentary, called A Journey, I am absolutely shocked at what I learned. I send you stuff, right? As I come back, I send you and I tell you, Clayton, I know this is going to sound crazy. This is what I uncovered. I know it's bizarro world, but it is. I mean, this week I sat and talked to multiple people that have intimate access of child sex trafficking. So grotesque that I go home after these trips and I literally have to figure a way to decompress my brain from what I'm hearing.
What's amazing to me is you've been on the front lines for 24 years on the border. The stuff that you've seen is horrific. And the fact that you need to come home and decompress from what you're now hearing is incredibly disturbing.
Look, Clayton, I come home, literally this is how it goes. I spend 3 or 4 days filming, interviewing, going to areas, talking to whistleblowers. And when I'm flying home, I'm exhausted, but I'm so amped up because I'm trying to process what I learned and then trying to sift through and intellectually go through what I've been told and say, okay, is this true? Okay, how do I fact check this? And then, dear God, it is true. Okay, how am I going to articulate this to America? And then in my brain, I know that this is just a personal talking point, but I personally think, God, I have to go down this road again, right? I have to go on national TV or huge podcasts like yourself and say the crazy out loud, right? I have to say like I wrote it in my book, Invaded. I had to write crazy stuff, knowing that it was factually true and the data said this will happen down the line. And everything I wrote, everything I've been saying is factually true. I mean, Clayton, go back to, I think I've been talking to you for several months now. Go back to the things that you and I talked about 6 months ago. Everything that I've said has happened.
Right.
Outrageous stuff.
Right.
It's happened. The revelations have happened. Is there a race war in Chicago? Get ready. Yes. Now everybody acknowledges it. Everyone doesn't want to talk about sex trafficking. Now that you and I have talked about it, I see it everywhere. And it's not algorithms on my phone. I'm talking willy-nilly people that I would never expect to talk about are talking about it.
Finally.
Everything that I am saying to you has come factually true. So if I've told you 10 things that have come true or actually data proven truth, why would this be a lie?
Right.
Honestly, why would I come to your show and lie?
And we can see them. Here's the thing. We can see the tangible evidence of this. We can see the contracts.
Yes.
We can see them being built in all 50 states across the United States. And we're going to see what happens here. I think, we can go into speculative territory here, but we are entering a very dangerous election. And what is going to happen with this election in 2024? We've had Colonel McGregor on the show who believes we are heading, not even having an election. So what are these camps going to be for? If they're not for illegal immigrants, what are they being used for? And she says dissidents. I mean, keep it tuned right here. I mean, I really think that this is an eye-opening and terribly scary piece of this. I want our audience has been fantastic in this. You guys can pre-order JJ's documentary right now. Pre-order it. Support this. This is independent journalism of the best kind. All you need to do is go to thisistreason.com. We are not affiliated with it at all. I just believe in it wholeheartedly and I want to promote it. So you guys can pre-order the documentary right now to help support this journalism. Go to thisistreason.com, pre-order it, and it'll be out. Your goal is like sometime in the fall, right? Like September or October when it'll publish.
Yep.
So we'll make sure
First week in September.
Oh, great. So when that publishes, we'll make sure JJ is here, and we will promote the heck out of it. Hopefully this is one of the most eye-opening documentaries you will ever see. But please, guys, go pre-order this right now. JJ is doing incredible work along with Ryan as they uncover these stories, and we're able to bring them to you here and elevate them as much as we can. JJ has got to get on a flight right now. He's going to cover more of this right now, so we don't want to hold him up anymore. JJ, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. This is an unbelievable story.
Thank you very much, Clayton, as always.
So unbelievable story. Thanks to JJ for joining us. And we will continue to follow him as we head to New York and to Boston as part of this big illegal immigration story across the United States. So we'll continue to follow that. We've got more news to get to here on your Thursday. We're going to look at here's a guy. His name it rhymes with Smil Snates. And he is now involved with the World Health Organization and a bird flu vaccine. I know it's shocking. Can you believe that this guy, Schnil Schnates, is once again surfacing and going to be partnering with the World Health Organization as it relates to a bird flu vaccine? Stop me if you've heard this kind of story before, but we're going to get to that in a second. Plus a huge, maybe victory, I guess, for female sports participants who don't want men participating in their sports. We're going to talk about that coming up. But first, economist Jim Rickards just published a report, and saying we are basically entering phase 2 right now of banning of the banking collapse. We're entering phase 2 of the banking collapse. There was a lull, and now we're entering phase 2. We've covered it here on the show, and he makes the point: the number one way to protect your family right now, and frankly, the number one way to protect the United States currency, is with gold. Is with gold bullion right now. And this is actually part of RFK Jr.'s platform, securing the United States dollar with gold, like these BRICS nations are currently doing right now. We in our family are big believers of investing in gold and silver and precious metals, and that's what we've done. We've done it with the help of our friends over at Lear Capital, and you can too. You can call their 800 number and just speak to them on the phone. They are an American company with American patriots. They will answer the phone and they will talk to you. Do you have an old IRA? Do you have an old 401k that you want to roll over into a gold-backed self-directed IRA? They can handle all of that for you. They're fantastic. Do you want to buy gold coins, have them shipped right to your house, stored in your gun safe? You can do that as well, or you can have it stored off-site. And with the Fed's news yesterday, gold prices dipped a little bit, came down because it looks like the Fed is only going to cut rates one time this year. So gold prices dropped a little bit, and then they went right back up again. So again, gold prices, the gold target right now is over $4,000 an ounce, according to UBS. So gold prices continuing to rise. And Lear just published this report. You have to go and grab this free report right now. It's about digital dollars and the de-dollarization and debt. The case for gold is your best defense. It's a free report. All you need to do is go to the website learredacted.com to grab this free report, learredacted.com. But also you can call their 800 number and jump right on the phone with these guys, and they will help you start investing in gold. Just go to their 800 number right here on your screen, 1-800-613-3557, and speak to them. Our friends at Lear will help you get set up buying precious metals today.
Well, the U.S. and the European Union will order bird flu vaccines from the vaccine manufacturer CSL Seqirus, which is incidentally funded and advised by none other than the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That's interesting, right? Especially given a few things that we've been busy establishing for the last several weeks as the hysteria around bird flu continues to reach a crescendo. Number one, we do have therapeutics for bird flu if you catch it. We're going to talk about that in a second. Number two, we don't know the true numbers of bird flu cases because the World Health Organization is relying on PCR tests. We established recently that PCR tests are highly faulty. They were faulty up to a 97% fail rate during the COVID pandemic. Seek out this segment we did recently about a court in Europe that ruled that PCR tests are unfit for purpose because they're so unreliable. So we don't really know case numbers at all, but we're going to be told some case numbers. We'll listen with a grain of salt. Number three, the WHO lied about a fatal case of bird flu last week in Mexico. We established that earlier in the week. And the last one, bird flu is not typically transmissible between humans. So why are we panicking and ordering stockpiles of vaccine? Well, just this week, Dr. Tedros from the World Health Organization said this about the risk of bird flu in North America.
To the United States and the outbreak of H5N1 avian influenza among dairy cattle. Since our last update 5 weeks ago, the number of affected dairy herds has almost tripled to 92 in 12 states. The number of human cases has increased from 1 to 3, and the number of people being monitored has more than doubled to 500. Since 2003, there have been 893 reported infections of H5N1 in humans, including 11 so far this year, 5 in Cambodia, 3 in the US, and 1 each in Australia, China, and Vietnam. In that time, the virus has not shown signs of having acquired the ability to spread easily among humans. That remains the case, which is why, at this time, WHO continues to assess the risk to public health as low.
Low, he says. Low. Okay. He did not answer for why they told us that there was a bird flu death last week and then had to retract that after the health secretary in Mexico, Jorge Alcocer, said this about the WHO giving us bad information.
And I can point out that the statement made by the World Health Organization is quite bad. Since from the beginning it talks about a fatal case, which was not the case, or for another reason, and without it being determined, and only marginally says that the risk in this case is low. But she's going to have a meeting today to clarify this.
Okay, this is a familiar story, right? The WHO told us that there was a fatality from bird flu when we established that it was a fatality with bird flu, with the caveat that we don't know how much we can trust the PCR tests. Now, here is a familiar story as well, that people who are being monitored for bird flu never showed any symptoms. So again, we have the case that one of the symptoms of COVID was no symptoms. Same story with bird flu. These 70 people in Colorado were quarantined and monitored for bird flu, even though none of them showed symptoms. So you see the headline there, it's kind of misleading. Monitored for bird flu symptoms, ... which they didn't have. They were only told they were exposed to it, so they were monitored, but they never showed symptoms. Okay.
Well,
so,
and what are the symptoms? Runny nose, stuffy eyes?
Fever and things like that. Right.
Yeah. Normal flu type things, you mean?
Well, with bird flu, you grow feathers and wings.
Right. It's like COVID with wings.
I think they should be forced to anytime they do the if somebody died with bird flu, they should be forced to add the actual cause of death as a possible symptom of bird flu. So it should be like possible symptoms include getting hit by a car, falling off of your roof,
Right. Yeah.
Pneumonia.
Exactly right. Okay, so then why are U.S. and EU taxpayers being asked to buy vaccines for bird flu when the current strain is not transmissible between humans? And here's the whole where it falls apart. They're saying if it changes and it mutates, then it will be transmissible human to human. But we have a vaccine now for the strain that is currently known that does not go from human to human. So presumably, the currently available vaccines would not pertain to the hypothetical future mutated strain. So that doesn't make any sense.
To the lab leaked one is what you're saying.
No, the one we have now on the market is not for the lab leak one, right?
No, I know. What I'm saying is they're saying we have a vaccine for the current state that doesn't transmit to humans, but we're working on, or we're going to have a vaccine for the one that does, that's going to come out of the lab later this year.
That's exactly right. But they're stockpiling the one for the strain that does not transmit through humans. Why do we buy that?
Sound like Omicron?
Right.
Does it sound like it's like Omicron all over again?
Yeah.
But think about that. In order to create the vaccine, they have to have a version to create it with to know that it's going to fight it, which means it already exists.
But they don't, because they've been creating COVID vaccines and then saying, well, this was 3 strains ago, but we're pretty sure it pertains to this more future strain.
They think we're stupid.
They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care what their vaccine matches the strain. They literally don't care. And they assume that we don't either. Now, remember, though, that we do have a way to treat bird flu right now. It absolutely matters how healthy you are. And listen to Dr. Kelly Victory telling us last week here on Redacted that there is good news that we know how to treat it.
The good news is, and the reason that people should not be fearful of this, is that we have every reason to believe that we have safe, readily available, effective medications to treat bird flu. We have every indication, for example, that it will be easily treated by hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine, just like COVID was easily treatable with hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and steroids. The problem was the powers that be prohibited us from even talking about those things, let alone having ready access to them. If doctors were not impeded from treating patients who had COVID with those medications, the death toll and the suffering would have been far less. So hopefully, if bird flu should become something to be concerned about, if it should begin to be transmitted between human beings and between people who are not in direct contact with infected animals, then hopefully we will be allowed to use the medications that we should be able to use, like hydroxychloroquine. If instead they shut those things down in order to foist their mRNA vaccine, quote unquote, agenda on us, then it's going to be up to people to push back and say, no, we fell for that the last time and we're not falling for it again.
Okay, notice what she just said, that they may not allow us to use the currently available treatment because they want to push an mRNA vaccine protocol. Aha! Look at this. Moderna has just secured government funding in order to start a trial on an mRNA bird flu vaccine. Now, again... Yeah, I know. It's too much, right? If it's...
Well, yeah, because it's like, here we go. The taxpayer is paying for the development again, and then they pay for the marketing. And
Exactly right. Yes, they have government funding through an organization I'm going to tell you about, which is a part of Health and Human Services, which is taxpayer funded. Yes. So mRNA is apparently the new flavor of the month or the year or the decade for Moderna. We spoke about yesterday how they just received FDA approval for their RSV vaccine. This one is for adults 60 and up, and it marks the first time that the mRNA technology has appeared in any non-COVID vaccine, and they're pretty stoked about it. Now, they think that this technology can work in a bird flu vaccine, and the Financial Times says that they are going to be paid, this is the only number we've got, is several tens of millions of dollars. What does that mean? Maybe less than 100 million, but how much less? We just literally don't know, but it's our money. It's taxpayer funded through the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. It's called BARDA, which is part of Health and Human Services. In the coming weeks, they are going to secure that funding. We didn't vote on it, but that's what they're gonna do. Now, John Campbell was talking about mRNA technology and all manner of vaccines just today on his YouTube channel, and the way he put it made me laugh, so I thought I'd play it for you.
Now, the mRNA vaccines are expanding around the world. There's multiple plants that have been built to produce them. So let's have a look at where we are at globally. All of the issues that have been raised, the concerns, the adverse reactions, don't really seem to have been taken into full cognizance, and that they're ploughing ahead.
Don't seem to have been taken into full cognizance. We're not trying to know this, but we here collectively are cognizant. So let's keep going. And again, as for the non-mRNA bird flu vaccine, again, that is made by CSL Seqirus. Well, that company also has a history of working with the Gates Foundation on the Zika virus and Ebola as well. According to their 2016 shareholder meeting, they've at least been funded by the Bill and Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates, since 2016. Now, as of yet, we haven't seen any evidence that the Gates Foundation is working with Moderna or CSL on the bird flu vaccine yet. But if you've seen that, please let me know, because I've got my eyes peeled for this, as they say. So again, as we sum up bird flu, we've been covering this at length for 2 weeks. Here's what we know already, which is very familiar. Stop me again if you think you've heard this one before. Number one, we're relying on PCR tests for case numbers. Number two, one of the symptoms is no symptoms. Okay. Number three, taxpayers are spending millions on vaccine development. Number four, the virus may have mutated, which indicates a lab leak through gain of function. Again, mRNA technology is being implemented, again, despite safety risks. And Bill Gates is connected to vaccine makers. So this sequel sucks. It's totally unoriginal and box ticking. Low score on Rotten Tomatoes. Let me know what you think of that.
I don't want to see it. I'm not interested in the sequel.
I was going to say, I bet you the audience score is going to be much lower than the
critics score.
The critic score.
Yeah.
The critics are going to love it.
Yeah.
Audiences are going to hate it.
99% critics, 1% audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we've got more news to get to here on your Thursday. We're going to look at Poland and why they just repudiated the NATO and globalist agenda in that country. Huge landslide victories and gave the big middle finger to the globalist agenda. We'll talk about that. Plus, trans swimmers. Hey, maybe they won't be able to compete in women's sports anymore or vice versa. Hey, are you a man? Good. You got to swim with men. Are you a woman? You a biological woman? You got to swim with women. We'll tell you about the lawsuit and the backlash with the new swimming decision that just came out. We'll talk about that. But first, we are big fans of going to sleep around here. We love a good night's sleep. And I have to tell you, one of my favorite beds and pillows combos is our friends over at Ghost Bed, because a lot of people sleep so hot and they want an excellent night's sleep. And that's the beauty of Ghost Bed. They have fantastic cooling that allows you to, this cutting edge cooling technology that reacts and adjusts to your body as you sleep. And this company has been over 20 years experience. Ghost Bed knows a thing or two about crafting the perfect mattress. They only use the most durable, supportive, long-lasting materials, so you can trust that your bed will provide you with years of excellent sleep. I love my Ghost Bed pillow. I feel like we have 10 pillows on our bed. Yes, but I always hunt for my Ghost Bed pillow as the main pillow I sleep on, because it has this really nice cooling. And so when everything else feels hot, it's so nice to sleep on that. This sort of hybrid approach you get this with, and you get the bed too. The bed is fantastic with this hybrid feel. You both get foam and coils. Check out the Ghost Bed Flex Hybrid for the perfect blend of comfort and support. You can try it out. The best part is you can try it out. Go to their website and just look and see if there's a mattress that makes sense for you. And they have a 101 night sleep guarantee. So they'll ship you the bed. You can sleep on it for 101 nights. It's risk-free. And then if you're not happy with it, guess what? They'll send it back and no cost to you. That's right. And right now you get 50% off your order over the whole website. 50% off if you're thinking about getting a new mattress or some new pillows. Go to ghostbed.com/redacted. Use the code redacted. Get 50% off right now to try it out. Again, that's ghostbed.com/redacted to get 50% off any of your purchases site-wide right now. They're really fantastic options at Ghostbed.
Well, did you know that trans swimmer Leah Thomas was trying to sue to get into women's elite races and the Olympics, possibly, into these competitions after being banned for having already gone through puberty? I suspect that the media was not really keen to cover this litigation because it involves a man trying to force their way into women's sports when this is becoming an increasingly unpopular notion. And a lot of times when transgender advocates are trying to take rights away from women, they do it under the radar. And then it's already done. We can self-ID into your spaces now. This seems like something that the media did not cover until just now when the verdict came out. So again, we have a man trying to sue to get into basically lapping these ladies in their own sports. The balls of it, right? Pun intended.
I mean, the balls on this guy.
Yeah. Well, Thomas lost, and the Court of Arbitration for Sport determined that Thomas did not have the standing to challenge the policy created by World Aquatics. And the CAS panel that found that for the time being, she is not eligible to compete in elite competitions through World Aquatic or USA Swimming.
Did they write the word she?
They did. So see the quotes that I put here. The court ruled that she is currently only entitled to compete in USA Swimming events that are not elite events. Now, we know that this is a biological man we're talking about. I'm not going to call them he, because we get punished on certain platforms that we are trying to broadcast on, and I don't want to take that risk for this person's identity, but I'm also not going to call them a she because they're not part of my group. So I will just use their name, Thomas. Thomas had argued that being excluded was discriminatory to themselves, but was not suing to stop the policy, just only get an exception for themselves. But that is not meant to be. That means that Thomas cannot compete for a spot for the Paris Olympics team for the USA. Now, the discriminatory argument is ironic given just how unfair it was for Thomas's teammates who were women. Now, I'll remind you that when swimming on the men's team in college as a boy, Will Thomas Will Thomas ranked 462nd in the country and was on his university team from 2017 to 2020. This page you're seeing here is still up on the UPenn website. As Will, he was a very good swimmer, but not a record breaker. Look at UPenn school records. No Will Thomas, nobody named Thomas.
Oh, I know. This is part of the rub, right? He's like, hey, I'm a below average swimmer, but you know where I could be really good? Is in the women's camp.
Well, then look what happened. Take a look when Will changed to Leah and then became a record breaker.
Well, that's amazing.
3 records.
But I love 3 records, but still couldn't manage to win in some categories.
Well, okay, I don't know what categories they swim in. Maybe they're not competing in all of them. But also, those are 3 spots, if we can leave this up on the screen, those are 3 spots that 3 ladies were kicked off of that are no longer on this school record because a man went in and took them from these ladies. Now, when the women on the teams complained, here is what happened to them. This was a letter that was leaked from the athletic director saying, oh, well, we fully support Leah. We absolutely, but look at the back. If swimmers are upset about Thomas, then this athletic director says that the athletes could utilize robust resources available to them, including the university's Department of Counseling and Psychological Services. So the girls are told, if you're upset about navigating Leah's success in the pool, then you got to go to counseling. You should not be complaining about losing. So you're giving this sport your all. You're losing because you have an unfair competitor.
But they're the problem.
But you should go to counseling because of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and look at all the hatred that Riley Gaines got for standing up for herself for that at first. You remember?
We are going to talk about
girls
Riley
not want
Gaines.
to come forward.
Yeah,
the other girls didn't want to come forward because the fear of the same retaliation.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, one of the things that trans advocates say quite a bit when asked about this unfair advantage of biological males in female sports is that, well, then we need to teach biological girls to just be happy to participate, to put their focus on the privilege of being able to participate in sports, which sounds very sexist. Look here, ladies.
Well,
you should be
that's
happy that
yourself kind of response.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But it is, but also they get scholarships to get their college free for whatever. Like, it's not like a lot of these women go on to be professional swimmers or professional athletes for the rest of their lives, because it's not the same as men's sports, right? As far as like those being
those
viable,
opportunities.
Yeah. So they're going to college so that they can do something with their life after that, and they get free scholarships, like full ride scholarships. So you're going to be taking those from women.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
Right. So what they're telling these ladies is, look, 100 years ago, you couldn't even compete. Just be happy you can even play. Be happy that we're letting you play. You got a category. Yes, men are invading it, but at least you can play. So you need to put your focus on, participation, even if you can't win against these boys and women face. Now, one of the most vocal athletes to speak out about this is Riley Gaines. She was somebody who did have to compete against Leah Thomas and was denied her trophy even when the two tied. So she speaks out quite a bit about this. She has become one of the most vocal, what they call TERFs, because they say, well, she's a trans exclusionary radical feminist. So trans advocates hate on her all the time. And she's, so now she's one of the most vocal people speaking for female-only sports. And here's what she had to say about this ruling. Great news. Leah Thomas won't be able to compete in the women's category at the Olympics or any other elite competition. She says he has just lost his legal battle in the Court of Arbitration for Sport ruling. And this is a victory for women and girls everywhere. So this is good, but it's still happening in women's sports. So women are having to battle this sport by sport, state by state, event by event. Like last December, this person, formerly Camden Schreiner, set a track record for the 100-meter race while competing against women. Only the year before, when competing as a man, ran the same race and placed 19th. But grow your hair long, compete against women, get a first place medal. Now, I could tell you these stories all day, but what we're talking about today is women who can now compete fairly because of these new rules in swimming. The rules themselves are problematic. We've talked about this before, so we're going to leave that for now. But I guess we'll leave this on a positive note because I don't want to just leave this where we're complaining. Let's talk about now who we will be cheering for in the female only category in the qualifying event in Indianapolis for the 2024 Paris Olympic Games in the United States. I introduce you to these three ladies if you don't already know them. Katie Ledecky, Kate Douglas, and Reagan Smith. These girls lead the rankings in 11 out of 14 events. And they will compete against each other. Well, I don't know if they do the same meets, but they will compete against other women. And Katie Ledecky apparently is the most decorated female swimmer of all time. So let's cheer these girls on, huh?
Yeah, let's
what do
do
you
it.
say?
Man.
I just want to give them a go, girl. You go, girl.
Yeah. All right. Keep your men out of our female sports, please. Keep your females out of our men's sports. Can we do that? Let's agree.
Well, you notice it doesn't go that way, though. It never goes that way.
Right.
Females in men's sports, much less.
Yeah, much less. It happens, but it doesn't make news because,
Well, I think it would be interesting because what FINIS, this sport association for swimmers, is saying that you have to be transitioned before the age of 12, which is highly problematic. And they're proposing an open category where it's not men or women, it's open. I suspect that if you do that, you're only going to have men in there.
Right.
What woman would choose to do that, right? So it'll probably just that open category would just be trans-identified men. So I don't know. And trans women, trans men,
So sick of it.
they don't want to do that. They want to compete against women. So anyway, all right. So let us know what you think of that. We have more news to get to. We're going to talk about Poland fighting back and more. But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at American Financing, because in today's economic climate, of course, so many of us are facing the challenge of managing our monthly expenses. Inflation still up in the month of May, less than April, but prices are still going up. It's hard out there. So a lot of us are turning to credit cards with high interest rate balances. Paying only the minimum at the end of each month just means that you feel like you're on a hamster wheel, never actually getting out of debt. But if you're a homeowner, you can tap into the equity of your home and help you eliminate high interest credit card debt. On average, their customers at American Financing save about $854 per month. That's the equivalent of getting a $10,000 a year raise. The process is straightforward and quick. It does take some learning on your part, so take some time, maybe this weekend, to say, okay, let's take a look at what we can trade out that's maybe keeping us under a rock. Can we learn to do this? So head on over to americanfinancing.net/redacted or give them a call and ask some questions. Again, call them at 866-890-8434. Again, that's 866-890-8434, and see if you have some assets that can help you rid yourself of high interest liabilities. So again, it's americanfinancing.net/redacted.
Well, the Polish people appear to be fed up with globalist policies, fed up with NATO, fed up with the Ukrainianization of Poland, and they voted overwhelmingly, yes, a record number of votes for the newest member of the European Member of Parliament, and that man is Gregory Brown. Now, you might remember, made international headlines when he grabbed a fire extinguisher and he blew out a menorah that was set ablaze, and of course, international headlines about this. And wow, you would have thought, wow, maybe there's a backlash against him. No, the Polish people said, we want this guy. We voted overwhelmingly to put this guy as the European Member of Parliament in Poland. And Gregory is kind enough to join us today on the show on the heels of his big victory in Poland. Nice to see you, Gregory. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Now, I should point out, I'm using the Western pronunciation of your first name. So to my Polish viewers, I apologize, but I tried for like 10 minutes.
For your Polish viewers, my name is Grzegorz Braun.
I said, and you said, you were kind enough to say, just say Gregory. It's the Gregory. So Gregory, welcome to the show. So the dust is now settled. You've had some time to maybe take in these numbers, but just looking over this, it's pretty remarkable. Let's see, 115,000 votes in this district. That is a record. So to all of the people who called you a far-right Polish politician who doused the Hanukkah candles, can't believe that this anti-Semitic member of the Polish government would be elected. What do you say to those individuals?
Well, the result is not bad. In Poland, it happens to be the best between my party's candidates' results. As to so-called anti-Semitism, I would prefer to call it Judeo-realism in opposition to Judeo-idealism. I simply refer to facts, historical facts, political facts, theological facts, and I simply cannot accept celebrations of racist, tribal cult in the middle of our society, of our political system. That's why I reacted, and my compatriots, obviously not everybody who lives in Poland, because there are probably less and less Poles who want to remain Poles, more and more of those who would prefer to become Euro kolkhoz citizens. But many of them take my action and take my reasons for theirs. And in the course of this election campaign, I signed probably thousands of fire extinguishers. The trick is that this was not my idea. This is not a PR product of my staff. Nobody would imagine this kind of political action. Simply, my fellow citizens, my fellow Polish people come to me and want their fire extinguishers signed by me, which I take for a very clear sign of our mutual understanding. We want Poland to be Polish. Not to become some kind of Soviet or Euro-Soviet republic, not the next American state, not Polish, Ukrainian Commonwealth, which is some people's idea, crazy, because totally unrealistic and based on false history. We want Poland to remain Poland, and we want our country to be a country of free and secure people. Security is the key word, because what comes to us from the East and from the West questions not only our rights to remain Polish, to remain normal people, living peacefully, earning money, having families, having children, having rights to raise our children as our fathers, our grandfathers used to. When I say grandfathers, you might think that I am the kind of politician who would like to go back to some history that never was. No, I'm very I would like to think of myself as totally devoted to future, to bright future of my nation, and this cannot be achieved without peace. And this is the question, the problem number one, to preserve peace in Central Europe, in the world, because we were used several times. We were used as a bumper by by the empires, not only in the 20th, but in the 90th and previous centuries. We were used as some kind of trigger to be used to start the revolution and World War. And this is the case of 1939, obviously, when we were pushed to the front, to the front line of that World War by the British, by Americans. Obviously, these were war criminals, comrades Hitler and Stalin, who divided Poland, who destroyed our state. But the inspiration was from London, and let's say authorization was from Washington. And we have documents. We have some other time you might want to hear more about historical facts. For now, I politically, I stress, I don't want any repetitions of this history. I don't want my nation to be used as a trigger of some revolution, some new world order revolution, which will not prevail without starting World War III on our territory.
Well, and it seems that you're maybe one of a few voices who is standing up for peace, because it appears that the world is marching towards World War III, and even your politicians, your leaders in Poland, are saying we need to prepare troops going into Ukraine, troops to march against Russia. If Russia makes any further headway in the east, then we need to be prepared to send troops into Ukraine. It appears the Polish people don't want that. It appears the Polish people are saying enough is enough, but they don't appear to be listening to the Polish people. You have massive NATO bases in Poland. Poland appears to be used right now as sort of a NATO staging ground for World War III, and you're looking to stop that.
Unfortunately, this is the case here. Polish people simply do not realize what the war might bring upon us, and the elite is totally treacherous. It's totally taken over by different ambassadors who actually rule the country. And this is very funny because they tend to interfere in sometimes very stupid questions like media, like propaganda. They like to teach us democracy. You said about war preparations. I want to stress I would be the first to call to arms. I would be the first to call for raising our army's abilities, producing and buying weapons that we need to preserve peace here. But I would be the first to say no to sending Polish troops abroad. And this is the problem here, because I used to be a member of the same Polish Parliament Committee for Army and Defense purposes. They expelled me after the December Hanukkah, situation. So they expelled me from the committee. But my interest in defense and national security is genuine, right. And I would like to serve my country, my nation, by giving all the best I could as a politician to my soldiers, to my army. The problem is that this army is not shaped currently, it is not shaped to defend our national security. It is shaped to play the role of, I tend to repeat myself, of a trigger. You would probably find several more words that would point out this problem. I understand that Washington, London, they obviously don't want to send their troops further east. They want to use us as they use Ukrainians. Remember, 500,000 of Ukrainian people, soldiers, mostly soldiers, died. You might add millions of those who escaped, of those who did everything not to join the army, and they are simply running out of resources. They are running out of people, and they are looking at Polish meat as
like a
useful prey, as a very handy replacement. And this is what I would like to oppose. I signed an appeal for peace already in 2022 in summer. I was obviously, you might imagine, called Russian agent and traitor by the mainstream media, but there is life outside the mainstream media, and my campaign for the European Parliament is a proof, because I had I'm very proud of it. I had exactly my airing time, television, radio, all put together. My time was exactly 0 minutes,
Wow.
0 seconds on air.
Wow.
In the mainstream media. I was never asked for any interviews. I was only sometimes quoted to depict my dark silhouette as a bad guy, probably the worst. And this is the best result of this election is the proof that there is life outside mainstream.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's like the independent media. We hear from our Polish viewers all the time that they say it's so sad that they can't get information inside of Poland about what's happening in Poland. They have to turn to alternative sources like our show or other sources, and it's unbelievable. So you had 0 airtime on the mainstream media, but that speaks that speaks to the intelligence of the Polish people. They're done being brainwashed by the mainstream media there, right?
What we are facing here is that great anti-Polish, anti-European, anti-human coalition that I could describe it as COVID, Euro Kolhoz, War Hanukkah coalition. And this is left to right to left. Everybody agrees. They are fighting each other very, very intensely sometimes, but in these crucial points, crucial matters, there is no difference. There is no difference between the left from the left and the left from the right.
Right. Well, it's the same thing in the United States. It's the same thing in the United States. We have more things in common. And we don't want illegal immigration. We don't want our borders flooded from people from other countries. We don't want war. And yet the politicians appear to be ignoring them. So I want to ask you about the Ukrainian...
So maybe the element that you miss is the counter coalition. Let's call it the fire extinguisher coalition. the really wide coalition of good, decent, peaceful people who just want to work and prosper. That's what I would recommend. Firemen of all nations, unite.
The fire extinguishers, they're going to be selling out of those all across the United States if that movement takes off.
I'm not selling anything. I'm not selling anything. This was not my stuff. This is my people coming to me with their fire extinguishers.
I love that. It's totally organic. I love that. I want to ask you, I'll get you out of here in a second, Gregory, but I want to ask you about the Stop Ukrainianization of Poland. We covered this a couple of months ago here on the show. This movement to stop what exactly? I mean, we saw millions of Ukrainian refugees coming across the border. We've seen the child trafficking problems at the border between Poland and Ukraine. We've seen all sorts of issues. Obviously, as other individuals in Poland to talk about, walking down different cities in Poland, you can't even hear the Polish language anymore. You'll hear the Ukrainian language. So why did you decide to push this Stop Ukrainianization of Poland? And it seems like the Polish people are with you on this.
Well, I hope more and more people understand what I wanted to say 2 years ago, starting this campaign with publication of some statement, some political program. I just predicted the results. I just, with all my compassion and understanding of how miserable the situation of war victims is, I have, as a Polish politician, I have to say always Poland first. Poland first, Polish people first, and I'm not. This is what I try to explain to my fellow citizens. You're not becoming some bad guy, bad Christian, treacherous Polish when you say Poland first. Polish children first, and we spend billions of our money to let's say to conservate, to preserve this social social revolution in Poland, and this is what I oppose. I'm not acting and I'm not proposing anything based on some kind of resentment of some bad feelings. I try not to let bad feelings overwhelm my existence. I simply cannot agree for spending Polish money for non-Polish purposes. This is easy. This is easy to understand. This should be easy. Right. But the government and the parliament and the president of Poland, they seem to be preoccupied with making everybody around happy with our money. I communicate with my voters, with my fellow citizens, just bringing that agenda, these facts up. I'm telling to Polish people, do you know how many apartments you funded for the Ukrainian people in Poland last year? And they say no, and then I bring up numbers, and this is shocking. This is shocking. Not talking about ammunition, tanks, aeroplanes that we sent to Ukraine. Polish police could not exercise at shooting ranges properly because the ammunition was sent to Ukraine. Polish army volunteers could not exercise with proper guns. They exercise. This is for real. Some units used to exercise with sticks. Because the guns went to
Ukraine.
This is what I oppose, because I am for security, national security. I am for the army to be the best army of the continent, of the world, because Polish soldiers are and can be great. They only have lousy commanders and treacherous politicians using them as tokens, as pawns at this great chess board that late Mr. Brzezinski described years ago, and I don't accept the position of some kind of pawn. I don't want to be a token in some British or Russian casino. I don't want to be played. I want to be a partner, but to be a partner, I have to be totally devoted to my country's and my nation's real interests.
Well, there is a wave that has come to Europe, and I think it's riding on that similar sentiment. Put our country first, put Germany first, put the Netherlands first, put Poland first, take care of the Polish people first. We have a heart, but we need to put the Polish people first. We need to not be funding apartments for refugees or illegal immigrants like in the United States. We have Americans sleeping on the streets, but illegal immigrants come across the border and they're given 3 meals and a free hotel room. It's unbelievable. Gregory, congratulations on your victory.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on all the fire extinguisher sales that all across the country, hopefully all across the world. We can use this as a metaphor to put out the craziness right now. Gregory, congratulations.
I like the fire extinguisher. I used to be a film director, mostly documentary film director. So a part of myself is kind of, I still have some artistic interests and sentiments. So what I like about the fire extinguisher is that it's not heavy, it's not pompous, it's even funny,
Right.
It does not offer danger. It offers peace.
Yeah, peace, and it puts out fires. That's what we want right now. I know.
Security.
It's apparently not in vogue right now to be anti-war, but we are on this show, and we appreciate your anti-war stance. Hopefully, more sensible people like you will take power in Poland. Gregory, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on your victory, and all the best. Thank you so much.
God bless.
Thanks so much, Gregory. And it is amazing to see the reaction in Poland. Good for him. And we're pulling for more individuals up there in the party to stand up against this NATO tyranny, this Green Party tyranny, this globalist tyranny. It's amazing the Polish people fighting back saying, we don't want our country turned into a NATO garrison any longer. We want Poland to remain Poland. We don't want the Ukrainianization of Poland. And I love the fact that there's like thousands of people have been coming up to him with fire extinguishers that he can sign them for them because of of that. So
we have just those little cans now. That would be less.
We should get some fire extinguishers on the Redacted store. I don't know. I like it.
You can never have too many.
But I like
fire has been redacted.
But I like what he said. Philip, because I think we were talking about this. It's like I like that he has the idea that it's not violent. It's just putting out flames. It's not a weapon. It's just like we're putting out the crazy.
Yeah.
We're putting out the crazy right now. So anyway,
yeah, and I did appreciate where he was talking about how it was initially seen as such like an anti-Semitic move, and he's like, no. He's like, you know, where he's just like, it wasn't about that. He's like, it was about get all of this stuff out of our politics. He's like, let's just focus on Poland. But my favorite part of that clip is that he starts that fire extinguisher a good like 20 seconds before he even gets there, and so he's just like walking, just like in this like
a
cloud
flamethrower.
It's just like, yeah, like. It's like the opposite of a flame, like an anti-flamethrower. But it's like just how early he starts that thing up just always cracks me up when I see that clip.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. So thanks, Gregory, for joining us. All right. Hey, yeah, we should mention we have a store. Speaking of store, come on over to redactedstore.com and check out all of our new merch. We've got a bunch of new merch over there. We check this out at redactedstore.com. You can support independent journalism. We don't mark the prices up beyond. I mean, we try to keep them very close to the production cost. Here are Conspiracy Knower shirts. See, conspiracy theorist is scratched out and conspiracy knower. And on the back, it's like a world tour of conspiracies that have all been, proven true. JFK, fluoride, 9/11.
Weapons of mass destruction.
There are 2 genders. Can you say that? That's on the shirt. Piss off your friends. Piss off people who think they know everything. Grab one of our new Conspiracy Knower t-shirts at redactedstore.com. Wear one of those and walk into a Whole Foods.
My daughter yesterday was like, please don't wear that to back to school night. When fall comes, you won't. And I was like,
oh, I'm going to wear that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm here.
This is how you endear to people.
I'm Clayton. Nice to meet you. Nice to say hi. Nice to say hi. I don't know if you see my shirt here. Do you believe any of these?
Well, you'll weed out the idiots,
Oh, yeah.
People
It'd
won't
be a great,
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Wear that shirt so that you can find the fools.
Right.
Like find the fools. And if they get offended by it, that's a great.
Then you don't even try.
Yeah. Because I can't suffer fools anymore. I really can't. I have no tolerance. Maybe it's my 47-year-old age. I can't handle it anymore. So check them out. Redactedstore.com. Thank you guys so much. We will be back here. We've got great content this weekend for you. We've got a couple of great things coming for you. But also we'll be back live on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you back here at 4 p.m. Eastern time live on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone.